Hi, Steve Stine here, and I would like to talk to you a little bit about Carry On Wayward Son. I had a lot of requests for this one, so I'm going to show you my interpretation of it. Of course, if you look at some tablature or something, it might look a little different here and there, but that's the beauty of music, isn't it? So here we go. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you the beginning of this. Let me play it for you. Okay, so let me show you what that all looks like when we break it down. We're going to be in the key of A, doing an A minor pentatonic scale. And what I'm doing is I'm starting on the 6th string on the 5th fret, and I'm going from 5 with my ring finger to 3, and then back to 5. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up to the 3rd fret of the 5th string. So it's just pentatonic right there. And at this point, I'm just down picking everything. Now the second time around, I go 5, 3, 5, and then I go down to the 5th fret of the 5th string right here. So the first time is 5, 3, 5 to 3, and then 5, 3, 5 to 5. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take that ring finger that's on the 5th fret of the 5th string, we're going to pluck it and slide to the 7th fret. We don't have to pluck the 7 again when we get there, we're just going to do that slide. Then we're going to go with the first finger to the 5th fret of the 4th string. So we have... Okay, so again, here's the whole thing. Okay, then I'm going to play 7, 5, 3 on the 5th string. Now, if you'd like to, what you can do is pluck all these, which probably means you're going to alternate pick, down, up, down, or something like that. If you'd rather do a pull-off and a slide, you could certainly do that as well. Okay? Or some people will slide first and then do their pull-off. Really, it's just whatever's comfortable for you to make it sound effective. Now, I'm going to pick them, and it's going to sound like this. Okay? But if you'd rather, or, any of those are fine. Okay, so the first segment, second segment, third segment looks like this. What I'm doing is going from the 5th fret with my ring finger again of the 5th string to the 3rd fret, which is making a power chord shape again. And then I'm going to go from 5 to 2. Okay, so I'm just jumping over with my first finger. So I'm using these 2 fingers, and then I'm using those 2 fingers again. But what you'll notice is as I'm playing this, I'm trying to keep all of the notes independent. I don't want them overlapping each other so things sound chordal, because then it doesn't really sound like the song anymore. So you want to keep everything independent. As you play, keep each note separate from every other note. Okay, now as you're playing, if you decide you'd rather use some different fingers than I'm using, please do, okay? If you'd rather pick it different or you'd rather add a hammer on or pull off, again, in my world, don't really worry about those sorts of things. The goal is to make it sound good, and the goal is to make it feel good. So when you're playing it, even if the song doesn't use hammer-ons and pull-offs, but it feels more comfortable for you, and you can execute the song better to make it sound more like the song, I wouldn't sweat those sorts of things. Just, again, remember, you're supposed to be having fun with this stuff, right? So we have... Okay? Now, as I'm doing that, you'll notice once in a while I'll throw in some vibrato here and there. Sometimes I do that out of nature. I do it, so if it isn't in the song and you don't want to do vibrato, it's okay. But again, play it naturally. That's what you're looking for. Now, after we come off that, we're going to go to an E power chord. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up to the 12th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings. And I'm going to play those 2 notes. And if I can, I'm going to give them a little bit of a vibrato. But again, you don't have to. And if you're not sure how to do a vibrato on a string or 2 strings, I certainly have videos available that you can watch for how to do vibrato as well. So it sounds like this. Okay, now you get this kind of lick here. Now let's talk about that. What I'm doing is I'm playing 0 and then 5 and 7 on the 6th string. And I'm doing it as a hammer-on. So I'm playing 0, I'm playing 5, and then I'm hammering to 0, or to 7, excuse me. And then I'm going to go to 5 on the 5th string and 5 on the 4th string. So what I'm doing is a cross finger, okay? I'm playing this 5 and then I'm crossing over to this 5. Now I wouldn't have to, again, I could use 2 different fingers if I chose to, and that's okay. But I'm just crossing over. So I'm playing this one and then that one and then back to this one. So I have... So basically what I'm doing is I'm just moving the pressure from the 5th string to the 4th string and then back to the 5th string. And the reason I'm doing that is that way I can keep those pitches separate again. Instead of getting where it becomes a chord, which really doesn't sound too bad. But that's what I'm doing is I'm cross-fingering and I'm changing the pressure so you're only hearing one string at a time. Okay, so... And then I'm going to end with a hammer-on from 5 to 7 on the 5th string. So I did a hammer-on from 5 to 7 on the 6th string, and then I did a hammer-on from 5 to 7 on the 5th string. So it looks like this. Okay? So now that whole thing sounds like this. Then I want to go back to the E, okay? But I don't really have time to get back to this power chord because I just left this 7. So instead of rushing down there, I just play the 6th string open. If you'd rather go, again, there's nothing wrong with that, whether or not you play it as a chord or you play it as an open. Obviously, it's going to have more power being that chordal sound, but you know, whichever one is more comfortable for you. So here's what it looks like so far from the beginning. Then do it again. Then we go into... Now the second time you'll notice I went to the 2 14s, and then I went to the 2 12s. See that? So the first time is just 2 12s, and the second time is 14 12. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about how I'm picking that, but again, I think it's slow enough to where you could do them all down. But if you watch me play it, for some reason, it's just more comfortable for me to play it as a down, and a down, and a hammer-on. But then I play down, up, down. Okay? So... And then I go back to a down, and then I do my hammer-on. So what I really want you to think about is all the choices that you've got to make that sound effective for you, okay? A lot of times, one of the big hang-ups I have, I love the fact that you can get tablature for free and you know, websites that offer free tablature. It's awesome because it makes your life a lot easier. But sometimes there's just too many options. You know, you're looking at something and it goes, well, this one, you know, this version of tab says you should do this, and this version says you should do this. And again, I'm just going to remind you, please don't get hung up on all that. Just do the version that makes most sense to you. If it sounds wrong, you know, the bottom line is, how does it sound? You know, when I was growing up, I learned everything mostly by ear because I'm so old that there wasn't tablature sites and things like that. So that's how we learned back in the old days, as it would be. But, you know, you played what sounded right. And then you usually try to figure it out in a place that felt right on your guitar. And so as you're learning how to play these songs, always remember that, you know, does it feel comfortable in the place that you're playing it? Does it feel comfortable the way that you're picking it, your hammer-ons, pull-offs? And if not, try some other options. Even if the tab doesn't say it, try some other options until you figure out the most effective way for you to play it and to make it sound good. So that's the first segment of this. Okay, so let's try this together. I'm going to play it the whole thing through here, just this first segment. At a little bit slower speed, and I want you to play along with me. So we're going to go da-da-dun-dun, da-da-dun-dun. And if it's a little bit too fast, it's okay. You can keep watching the video and practicing until you get it built up a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. Then you go to your E, and then up to the 12s. Then you got this crazy lick. 2 zeros again. Okay, and then we just continue on with those segments. Okay, now this whole thing, this end of part 1, is going to end with this lick. And what I'm doing is I'm, again, cross-fingering. I'm going from, cross-stringing, I should say, really. I'm going from 5 to the 5, and then back to the 5. And I don't want them to ring out. I'm not really making a chord. I just want to change the pressure. And then I'm going to 8 on the second string, back to the 5, back to the 8. So I have. Then I'm going to slide from 8 to 10. So I have. And that'll lead into the second part of this, okay? Now, there is a harmony guitar there, too, in case you are playing with another guitar player. That guitar player could play this. And what you're doing there is you're crossing over from first string to second string and then back. Then you're going 7, 5, 7, and then sliding up to 8. So one guitar is doing, and one guitar is doing. Okay? So try and get that comfortable where you switch back and forth. If it's really weird at first, it's okay to bar them. It's all right. And then just as you get more comfortable with it and you get a little bit better at it, try and get used to being able to separate those notes a little bit. So practice hard, have some fun, and then when you're ready, go ahead and move on to part 2. But just please remember, have some fun, right? Learn, and that's really important, but make sure that you're doing it the right way. So I'll see you soon.